I'm Nicole.
I'm Geraldine.
I'm Lauren.
And we are
Doing the Damn Thing, an entrepreneurship talk show.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our latest episode of Doing the Damn Thing. We are so grateful that you guys are here. Don't forget to hit the red button, subscribe, and ring that bell. So today we have Charlene Jones here with us talking about how to get ready for interviews. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into how to get ready?
Yay! First of all, thank you guys for having me because I love each and every one of you, and I love your entrepreneur spirit. It's infectious, and it definitely gives a lend to those who are looking to do the same. So how do I get ready for a broadcast? First, I take a breath. Yeah, I take a deep breath, and then I research. Yes. Because I'm a double Aries and I need to center myself. That's why I do that, you know? So I get my head together, I get my breath together because breathing is important, and then I research. That's what I do. I research what it is that I'm studying, and then I try to look at the what ifs, because normally the what ifs do happen. Sometimes people think that broadcasting is a script, and a lot of times it is a script. But I've done live shows. I mean, for China Radio International, it was all the hot seat. Every show was a live show, and what could go wrong did go wrong, and you had to be ready for it, like cameras breaking over your head and things of that nature, or your computer going out so you have your script. I mean, things just go awry.
Yes.
But if you have looked at that situation beforehand, what if this happened, then even though you may be a little bit panicked, you're still ready for it and you can navigate. So basically I just research what it is that I'm studying, what topic it is, and then I just go from there, and I'm positive. I never shoot myself in the foot going, oh, well, you know, I'm usually like I am now, ready for the rodeo.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. It's just to be ready and to research what it is that you're going to be speaking about.
And so you've done broadcasting for a long time. Right?
I have.
Can you talk a little bit about what your experience in the field is?
I started off at TV. You know, there's a picture somewhere with me sitting on TV, but I'm on radio. I started off, I cut my teeth in TV. Yeah, I did. I started my career in television. And I'm a geeky girl. My father was a systems engineer, so I like to see how things happen and how they come together. The Voice put me on radio. So it's just one of those things where I started utilizing my voice at KPOO in San Francisco for Reader's Theater. That was my first gig, Reader's Theater in San Francisco, and I love KPOO. To KPOO, still to you, because it started my journey. And then I started working with KMEL, and I wasn't on KMEL, but I started working with KMEL on projects, special projects. And then that led to my working at 92.3 The Beat, which is a legendary radio show for hip-hop and other things. And then after that, I kind of honed my skills, but I wasn't on air as one of the main DJs. But I did the promos, I did commercials, I learned breath control, I learned how to read scripts, I learned how to navigate with the DJs and through DJs, and then the industry at hand. And it became very infectious then, that I loved radio and I loved what radio encompassed. But most of all, having an audience to speak to about different topics. And that's how I got started really in radio, from San Francisco KPOO, working with KMEL, and then segueing to 92.3 The Beat, and then global.
Yeah, you went to Asia.
Yes. I went to Asia for ESL, English as a Second Language. But then when I was there, I had a radio opportunity, and I couldn't take it because it was in my contract. I couldn't double up. But I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm one of those children that believes in the things that are for you. 5 days before I was to leave, a radio gig came up at GFN, which is all foreign radio access, and I knew I had the job before I even interviewed. I'm gonna keep just real with you. I felt it. I said, God, this is my gig, because I was gracious, and I'm not always known for grace. Fair face, but not always for grace.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, Well, when it first came that I didn't get the job, I couldn't take it, I wasn't angry. I just said, you need to move aside so someone else could have this opportunity. That's all that means, and just be happy that it came your way. So when it came up again, 5 days, I had a ticket in hand to leave and come back to America. I knew that gig was for me, and I said, they have to hire me today, because I know I have to get my physical and all my things together. If they're going to hire me, they've got to offer me the job today. I knew what I was going to wear. I put it on a MapQuest. I went, I interviewed, and the director of the program is female. She came into the room where I auditioned on air, and she straddled a chair and she said, hey, you're it. We're choosing you. And I thought, okay, here we go. And then it was a rush, a scramble to get everything done before I flew back to America. Cut my 2-week trip in half and came back and did a show straight off the plane. So yeah, I know all about the rodeo and what it takes to follow your passion, but radio is a passion of mine, and I still love people. Really, it's people. I'm a people person. I love talking to different people about different things, and radio was my car. It still is my car. It's my fast car. Sometimes I'm in the slow lane or the fast lane, but always chasing people, you know, and talking to them one-on-one or in a group dynamics like a round table here, but it's always an opportunity to talk to the world about topics that are of interest to people worldwide, and I so love that.
Now you're also on a different platform now. So you've done radio.
Yes.
And you've worked a little bit in television as well, and now you're online. So you have a video podcast or...
Yeah, it's a newer platform that's gaining strength as we speak. It's Get Vocal, and that's GETVOKL. And Get Vocal is just that. It's a platform for the people, by the people, to have an avenue to talk about many different topics and subjects that are of interest to people worldwide. But the flip is, unlike Facebook, and I love the Book of Face. I do. I love the Book of Face, which I so affectionately call it. But Facebook, you know, you have the emojis, and we have our families here and globally, but you can't feel the kiss, you can't feel the exclamation, you can just see the beautiful emojis, and they're great. But Get Vocal, we're live. Our interviews are live streaming on Facebook, and then they go up on YouTube and other social media networks. So I'm really excited to have been asked to be a broadcaster for Get Vocal. So to my Get Vocal family, thank you. I love you, Zan and Alexander and everyone. So thank you so very much, because it is new for us. And even though I have not done a lot of broadcasts yet on Get Vocal, because I've been like mad crazy busy teaching at UCLA this summer and working on some other projects, I do intend on making that platform my home, so that I have a voice for the people and can be able to continue to do what I do. Be that voice for the others who may not have a voice or have something to say but not a platform by which to say it. I mean, let's face it, this is what we do. We have an avenue, cameras, radio, TV. But the reason that we have these things available to us is that we have the audience. If we didn't have the audience, we wouldn't have a gig, you know? So we speak for the people. So I'm grateful to have platforms such as you all's doing the dang thing, you know, and other, because you all are also entrepreneurs in your own right, as well as having this opportunity here, this platform. It's amazing. It's growing by leaps and bounds, connecting people at home and globally about many different things. And so it's still a very powerful network to have, and I cheer it every day.
So what advice would you have for entrepreneurs who are kind of reluctant or scared of being on radio or on video or these different interviews?
You're going to be afraid, and that's what keeps you busy, and that's what keeps you in the mainframe, no pun intended. That fear motivates you to get yourself in gear, to do your work, to be researched, and I hope you do research, because that's the first information that I will give you, is to research what it is that you're going for. If it's one person, if it's a certain thing, research that, and then step into the light.
When you say research, you're talking about like with the host or like about the channel or whoever you're going to be with.
All of it.
Know those people and the topic you're going to be talking about. Really
Absolutely.
Well.
And then step into the limelight, step into the light and shine, because you're not there to shrink like, a flower that has no water, for the lack of a better analogy. You're there to shine. You're there to be that beacon of light for others and to have that voice. And they're looking at you for the same. So you're going to have the butterflies. The butterflies will go away. The fear will go away. As soon as the music stops and you're in that chair, it's like magic. Everything comes together, and it does. But you won't ever not have the fear. I always have the fear. Every broadcast, I have the nerves. It's fear, it's nerves, whatever you want to call it. But it keeps me sharp, And the day that you don't have the butterflies, the day that you don't have the fear, that means that your passion has subsided to the point that you may not no longer wish to do it. It's that readiness, it's that edge that keeps you going.
What's a time that you said, because I'm sure at some point you said something without, out of nervousness or whatever, you blurted something out. What are some stories?
Oh, I have many, but one that comes into view is, working for China Radio International. I had a lot of words, long Russian words and, Mandarin words and things that I had to get together. And sometimes I messed them up on a big scale, but I never stopped. I would say, with confidence, with confidence. And even if you said it wrong, and sometimes, when you do say it wrong, you say, I know I messed that word up or that name, and I like to apologize now. But, and then you just keep going. But you have things like that happen, and those things happen to me on more than one occasion. But the craziest thing that happened to me was when my microphone, the professional mic that hangs before you, started coming undone before my eyes. A screw fell, and I went out of the corner of my eyes, and I kept doing my program because it's live. And you can't have 5 seconds of dead time. You get penalized. A horn will go off that you can't hear, and your salary is docked. Wow. So you better look at it for 2 seconds and keep rolling. And I thought, oh, is the other screw going to come out? And it did. It went lopsided, and I still kept talking. And then 3 technicians came overhead, and you still got to work. Because they can't see you, they can hear you. So it doesn't matter what's going on around your head.
Right.
The voice still has to be the voice, and you still have to do the commentary and do the news, no matter what. It could be pterodactyls flying around your world, but you still better be on point. Yeah, so it was kind of like lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Yeah.
But I realized then you got to up your game and continue to do the news, because that is what's at point. And as long as you're not bleeding or someone around you isn't having a heart attack, you still do it, because their job as engineers and technicians is to get everything together, but your job is not to stop. Remember that. Your job is just like if you're doing a live stage show. You still have to do the show. You flow a line, you do the show. You forget your line, someone picks your lines up, you still continue. It's live, and when it's live like that, you have to keep going. And if it's not live, and it's just a broadcast, you still have to regroup, get yourself together, start back from the point in which you left off, and continue as if nothing happened. So you have to steady your nerves.
Yeah, I want to speak to that as well, and this is coming from the perspective of an audio and a video editor.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of YouTubers or people on the radio are thinking about doing a podcast that are really scared.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you out there are scared of starting your channel because you don't want to mess up.
Yes.
You don't want to stutter, and you don't want to do all this. First off, if you're doing your own editing, you can cut out all the ums and the ahs and the likes and all that stuff. So that's one thing I'll say.
That's true.
Second, if you're interviewing for somebody else's platform, you can't rely on the fact that they're going to do that.
No.
I do. I'll cut out our ums and a whole bunch of stuff, right? But you don't know what the editor's listening is of you.
That's
they
true.
might just be editing out certain gaps instead of really listening to what you're saying. Like you said, if you mess up, it's fine. Just act like nothing happened.
You have to keep going.
That's
That's
the main
key.
thing.
It is key.
Yeah.
So when you interview people, you on the radio, have you interviewed lots and lots of people? Yeah. So what are some of the things that you notice either the guest makes a guest really good, and maybe things that you notice that they could do that we could emulate as we're doing our different interviewing too, or like just kind of things that you can help as people, as entrepreneurs. Most frequently, we're probably going to be interviewed, be the interviewee rather than the interviewer. So what are some of the things that you've noticed that people have pulled off really well?
Well, first of all, your guests are always nervous, and your first job is to make them comfortable. So you're the first line that they see outside of coming into the studio and meeting the receptionist. When they walk into your room, your job is to put them at ease. And one of the ways that I put them at ease is that I smile, I don't get up because I'm sitting in the chair, but they come and they sit down, and I tell them, hi, if you're nervous, that's okay. This interview is about you, for you, and we're gonna work as a team. Just have fun. And that's what I tell them. Yeah, and just have fun.
Have fun.
And you would be surprised how just that reassurance to them helps to be an icebreaker to cut through that fear. And once you start with them, or the information that you've sent them, the talking points or what have you, they're ready. They just have to get past the first hello or their names. And if they stutter or stumble, again, that's up to you. You got to have the information at hand about them, so to bring them back to the point or to bring them back around, to help them out. And I noticed even with Get Vocal, when we had our interview, my mic went mute. And I was like, oh, my mic is mute. Geraldine was still talking, and I was like, oh, okay. And then feeding me information because she knew what was at hand. And so it works that way. It is a joint effort between the host and the person who's being interviewed. Both work together. And if you're researched and you're relaxed within your environment, 9 out of 10 times you're going to have a great show.
Because I know for myself, like when I'm being interviewed, I don't get too nervous, but you always are like, you don't know how the host is going to be. So it's like nice to get that reassurance. One of the podcasts I was interviewed for was actually at a bar. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
But crazy?
Crazy. But it was crazy because I was like, this is the first time I'm in an interview, and we all have a drink in our hand. And but I'm like, you know what? This is how it's going to be, because this is the format that they want. And I think sometimes as interviewees, you have to get used to the fact that every format's going to be different, and so having that reassurance from the host then also tells you what kind of format it's going to be and what kind of tone it's going to be.
Yes.
So you have this switch,
And sometimes they freeze. That won't happen often, where their mind just goes blank, or they are so fearful, and you have to feed them all the information and hope that they come out of it. But if they don't, you still feed them the information, even what they give. Yes. No. Okay. To fill it up, that's your job. And sometimes you get guests, and it's not that they're not researched, it's just that they go blank. Once they get on air, they become afraid, and they lose what it is that they're supposed to be thinking about.
I've had that moment before. Not necessarily on radio, but presenting, where you're like, oh God, I say this word like 100 times a day. How come I can't remember it right now?
Right? It happens.
Yeah.
When I first started being interviewed for radio or other types of things, one thing I observed is that it's so important that you need to be prepared, do your research, be prepared. And sometimes if you prepare your long answer, just know that sometimes you can't give that full explanation.
Exactly.
So prepare for your full explanation, but in the event where they're not going to let you say that full explanation, just know to have your short version of it.
Yes.
So that way you're not going on and on. Like in the beginning, I'd be like, I'd be thinking in my mind, they cut me off and I didn't really get to finish. I didn't get to finish that point. And then I was so hung up on that and not present for the rest of the interview.
Also,
That's a good point.
Oh yeah. Also, probably the best interview that Geraldine and I ever did together was we laid out the questions that we wanted the host to ask
Uh-huh.
us, and we met for like an hour before we went on air and just like asked each other the questions and like got our talking points, and that I found to the point
That's
that
the best.
yeah, because really then when it came to the actual interview, and maybe she wasn't asking some of the questions that we wanted to answer, we also knew how to like parlay the two a few questions together so that we could then speak, and I felt really confident in that interview. That was probably one of the best ones.
And I think also as an interviewee, sometimes you have to make the interviewer, especially if they're new, like they just started their podcast and they just started their YouTube channel, to feel comfortable. Because I've been in that situation where we were talking earlier, where you have to be prepared that things aren't going to work.
Yes.
And I remember I was doing this Facebook Live interview and it just was not clicking. And luckily I had time during that day, like, because she was in Houston, I was here, so it was like, and she was so grateful that I had the patience. I'm like, we'll do a take 2, we'll do a take 3.
Yes.
Honey, it's fine. Like, I have some time. We'll get this done, you know? And you have to sometimes, I think, as an interviewee, like, also be mindful of, like, the
You have to
interviewer
be mindful.
might not be, they might be new, or they might just also be having, like, an off day. It's like I like to think of it as a two-way street. It's a relationship.
Yes.
Or a short-term relationship, basically.
Very short. It's a one-night stand. It's a 2-hour stand.
It's a short-term relationship.
Or sometimes 30 minutes.
Yes. But as long as it works.
Yeah,
it works.
yes.
But that would be some of the best advice given, and I think each of you hit upon some really key points for those of you who may be just starting in broadcasting, or entrepreneurs who are looking to branch out on your own. As Geraldine said, you're going to have the fear, but do it anyway. Find your medium, find what it is that makes you happy, your passion, and once you get a hold of that and you're sure that you want to do it, get a well laid out plan. Get a well laid out plan. As well laid out as possible, and then jump. You know, people say, oh, now how do you get on a plane and go halfway around the world and live and do these things? One, I go with God first and foremost. I always go with Him on the rodeo, so I'm never alone that way. But it's not like I just saddle up my bag and get my ticket and just jump and show up at the station. I'm here. No, I'm researched well before I go. My environment, the terrain, the company, where I live. I researched China Radio International 6 months before I even got the gig. And then I went and stalked the whole neighborhood for 2 hours on a vacation. Yes, I did. Where I wanted to live. I stood across the street from the armed guard who kept looking at me like, oh, is this black girl still here? You know, writing notes and taking pictures, even when they said no pictures, click, and I'd run. I did all that stuff before I got the gig, because in my heart of hearts, I knew I'd get it. But if I didn't, it wasn't for lack of trying or being prepared. I needed to know if I could live in that environment. I needed to know what was around me that I would be put in if they did indeed hire me, what it would be like to be in that world. So when I did get the call, it helped. It was inspiration. I mean, it came to be. And 6 months later, I was not the girl on the outside taking pictures. I was the girl on the inside looking out.
Didn't you say that you knew the building you were going to live in before you went?
I saw it,
right?
and it was gorgeous. And I thought, ooh, what's that? And I had a camera around my neck, my knife. I love my knife. And the guard said, mm-mm. And the minute he turned, I went click, click. And I ran. You know, I did. You guys know me. I ran, and then I had no idea that it was 4 buildings connected together. They were the international buildings for the staff. It's like a baby NASA there. And the 4th building, the one that I'm speaking of, was a part of a hotel. And so my apartment was on the 6th floor as a part of the hotel. And I had no idea 6 months prior to that I would be living in that building. Dreams come true, and what you put out, you get back. Because I was really putting that out to my angels. I was really putting that out to God. I was begging at some points, God, please, I just want to work here. I do. I just want to be here. I did all of that. But it works. Yeah. I'm living proof that that works, and that's not the only time that has worked, but that is the most profound time of my life, that I really reached for something that people said is impossible, you're not going to get it, and got it. you can do it,
Yeah.
and you should do it.
I wanted to acknowledge two things. Well, first, I want to acknowledge you for coming all the way over here from DTLA, downtown LA. And for those of you who don't know, we're broadcasting here in Oakland at the Bellevue
Yes.
Club. Check it out.
It's
And
gorgeous.
she agreed to be on our show, so she hopped on a plane on Saturday and came through. But part of that was preparation. So on
Yes.
our end, as a show, what we had to do was send her all the information where
Yes.
we're located, send her the talking points, so give her kind of an idea of what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
And then she, in turn, thought about what she's going to say and all that. So that's a big part of preparation, both on the interviewing
Huge.
shots. Both on the interviewing side as
Yes.
well as on the interviewee side. So
And let me just say, if you all have the opportunity to be asked to come on this show, please come. I'm telling you, no one lays it out like you guys, and I'm not just saying that
thank
because you
you.
guys
For real?
are family, and I know of you too. And I'm just meeting you, Nicole, but I've heard so much about you. You rock. You totally rock.
Thank you.
But you guys lay everything out so beautifully that it makes it easy for me to navigate through, and it makes me excited. So when I got the talking points, I was like, yes, that's answered. Oh, I need to talk about this. Oh, and anything else that I had questions about, I would email you back. So your preparation helped me to be prepared, and it helped me to be relaxed like I am now.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys rock.
That's what we're trying to do for our guests. So yeah. So any final tips for people when they're getting ready for an interview, for a podcast, YouTube?
I would
Radio.
just say some of the things that we've already said. Find out what it is that you wish to speak about. Be prepared, and also go over the what ifs, because 9 out of 10 times you have your A list of preparation and questions like your talking points, but also there are other things that you might want to interject that you think that you may not get a chance to. Have that ready too, because actually it may be a point where all the questions are not asked, and there's some time that you can interject. So just be prepared, take that breath so you're not so nervous, and when yes, waiting to exhale. Yes. And so when you are sitting in a chair like I'm sitting in a chair now, or any place in the world where you have an opportunity to speak, be ready, be present, and believe in your moment, and then shine.
Thank you. I love those tips. Thank you. So thank you all for joining us again for another episode. All of Charlene's information is going to be in the description box below. As usual, don't forget to subscribe, ring our bell, share this video, all that good stuff, and we will see you next week.
Thank you guys for having me. Bye-bye.